President is leading Ghana to commit ourselves into a deal that will be very woeful to the finances of this country. In fact, he's going to cause financial loss to the state, because clearly the document that has been presented to Parliament is nothing but fraudulent. Fraudulent in the sense that the document, the service agreement that we have reviewed, clearly shows that they are actually asking Zipline, the contractor, to come to Ghana to operate what we call operating lease. Operating lease, but in the end, each distribution center is going to pay $145,000 per month. So per annum, each distribution center is paying $1.7 million per annum for the next 4 years. Now, what they are telling us is that each distribution center is bringing a drone, and actually the cost of the drone is $1 million. I've done a quick analysis and I've looked at the specification of the drone. What we have there clearly indicate that the cost of a drone cannot exceed $100,000. Now, something that is actually costing about $100,000 or less, all of a sudden is being sold to Ghanaians at a cost of $1 million. This is nothing but, it's not even fraud. I think it's criminal. It's thief, but nothing else. Because clearly we have the details. In fact, the one that I found, that is about $100,000. The specification is far higher than the other specification that they're actually selling to Ghana at $1 million. Now, granted that even the cost is right, granted that they come out with the argument that the cost is right, the company is investing $1 million. 1 year, you are paying them $1.7 million. On average, for 4 years, you are paying them $7 million plus. And so they are ending up having profit returns on that investment, approximately 600% on one distribution center. 600% returns. I mean, what sort of business is this? Is this cocaine business or what? I don't know the kind of business that you would do and then you make that kind of returns. What sort of business is that? And this company is going to do 4 distribution centers. So on average, we are expecting them to make returns, in fact profit, not 600%, but 600 times 4, which will give you 2,400%. 2,400% returns if Ghana is to approve this agreement. I think it's something that this country must speak against it, because where the vice president is leading us is leading this country into the path of unrighteousness. I don't think it's something that we should allow him to do it, because he's actually sinking this country deep. What surprises me is that a commitment of this nature, they have not budgeted for it. When you are to ask, we were told that GNPC is paying for it. GNPC is a state corporation. In fact, the resources of GNPC are public funds. And so Parliament of Ghana has every responsibility to find out how our oil resources money are being used. Unfortunately, if GNPC's money is being used this way, then I cry for this country. I cry for this country because the way our resources are being used, my brother, it's not good enough. And my colleague here will add something to it. But the way it's going, we should be careful.
But then what's your expectation of the vice president? That what they should withdraw this completely, they should cancel the deal, they should renegotiate. What exactly do you
I am really disappointed at the vice president, because we all know that this is his business. Business in the sense that he's the one who has been championing this. I think as the chairman of the economic management team who is championing these drones, he has every responsibility to have reviewed the agreement and make sure it is there's value for money. Unfortunately, there's no value for money.
But it was said on the floor that the value for money audit is being conducted.
It's being conducted. Right. So Parliament should rubber stamp it, and then somebody will go to the office and then obviously tell us that there's value for money. That is what he's telling us. Thank you very much. We thank the minister very much for saying that. Unfortunately, we won't do that.
But to say that the government is in a rush to bring something unimportant as this to Parliament, where, for instance, they went and sole sourced this, it means that they could have gone ahead. They could have gone ahead and done the value for money ahead of time. If anybody says that in Parliament we normally just go ahead and give approval before value for money, that cannot be entirely true. Bekwai District Hospital, it came together with the value for money report and everything, and sole source with this. And the question I keep asking is this: the Minister of Health is saying that they needed to fly these essential drugs and blood products around the country. And I ask, does the country have a stockpile of essential drugs and blood that we can't distribute? And the answer is no. The regional medical stores have drugs that they find their ways of distributing them. If indeed, effectively, if you have a situation where somebody, a benevolent organization, wants to come and support us, we could still do this better than the way we are doing this. And in this country, people are quite superstitious. If you say that somebody should just wake up one day and there's a machine dropping from the sky with blood in it, and then somebody needs to go through that and have blood transfusion, we think that the processes are too wrong. And the vice president, being somebody who always talks about value for money, we don't understand why he should be the one leading a charge where something that costs 100,000 should cost this country $1 million. It doesn't wash. And with the issues about people not wishing that villagers take part, the map they showed us basically doesn't show anywhere near Adaku. It's still centered around the cities. And the critical one, we are being told that Ghana Civil Aviation is in the process of giving them license. Imagine that if a private person went flying drones in this country and tells you that he's applied to Ghana Civil Aviation under the safety regulations, I think 28, that, oh, he can start flying before then. What would government say? So government cannot be the one leading the charge for lawlessness in this country. That is why we are saying that withdraw this agreement. Is completely a fraud with an attempt to fleece this country, and come back on a later day when you are able to determine all this. And if you look at the thing, people didn't know this drone, the payload it can carry is 1.7 kilos. In effect, maybe what, 4 or 5 pints of blood. But, yes, and you understand. And we are saying that nobody is against government investing in the infrastructure that delivers health care. But I know if you go to any DC assembly today, what they need most is the facility and the personnel. So we need a cheap compound, the health centers, and the personnel. We are not building any cheap compound. The nurses are still at home, not being posted. We haven't got enough money to buy drugs. And you are telling us you are buying drone for $1 million. This is not right. And we are telling the vice president, we are not going to accept this as another form of how do you call it, GPS, another GPS, which is completely unnecessary. And then guess what? Next week, about the close of the week, we'll come to you with the issues about the Sino-Hydro as well. And you see how this government is systematically fleecing this country on the basis of doing development in this country, which you can see in your community. This agreement of the zip line is totally wrong and must be withdrawn. And we thank Parliament that today we wanted to take the vote. Why did we not take the vote? Do you know why? Because there were not enough in the chamber. The minority was more than them. So they tried to dribble us by saying, okay, we will not take the vote today. If we took the vote today, we would have lost it. But that is why they decided not to take it. They will come back another day, but we'll see whether the report they will bring to Parliament is adequately taking care of the lawlessness by not seeking approval from how do you call it, Ghana Civil Aviation Authority and other things.
Let me add that if anybody makes an assertion that it is the donor agencies that is actually funded and so Parliament should not approve it, or that is not a concern of Parliament, that person is making an erroneous, creating an erroneous impression or making an erroneous claim, in the sense that if a donor makes a payment or decides to sponsor government project, that amount is public fund. It should be captured in the budget as grant. Parliament of Ghana needs to approve it. So, of course, if any donor agency decides to fund this, then of course, Parliament must approve that as part of the IGF or donor arrangement that the government is getting. So the minister's claim, I strongly disagree with the minister when he made that claim. But most importantly,
and the fact that it says public funds will not be dispensed.
Yes. Let me make another grave point.